Welcome to Let's Talk Passion and Purpose, the podcast where we explore the journeys of creators, leaders, and visionaries who've turned their passions into purpose. Join your host, Nicole Thomas, as we dive into inspiring stories, uncover strategies for success, and help you take the next step toward a life filled with meaning. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Passion and Purpose with Nicole Thomas. I'm excited because this evening I'm here with Pavar Snipe and Emily E. Turner. Pavar Snipe is a dynamic Emmy-nominated producer, comedian, writer, and actress, renowned for her roles on ABC's When Nature Calls with Helen Mirren and as the voice of Angela Baker in DreamWorks' Dragons: The Nine Realms. A dedicated disability advocate, she channels her personal experiences with rheumatoid arthritis into her comedy, promoting awareness with wit and authenticity. Pavar teaches Plenty Haha, the art of comedy, at the New School in New York City, and is an active member of the Writers Guild of America, contributing to the Committee of Black Writers and Disabled Writers Committee. Her comedic training with the Pitt Theater, UCB New York and LA, and Second City Hollywood has shaped her versatile career as a member of WOCA, or WOCA, and an advisory board member of the Real Abilities Film Festival. She co-produced and hosted Real Abilities Live and debuted her one-woman show, Code Switch. She is set to launch the podcast It's Not Even Like That with Emily Turner under Limitless Laughs Productions. And Emily E. Turner. Emily Turner is a writer-producer with more than a decade of experience in television and film. During this time, she has worked on acclaimed projects for PBS, as well as for Ron Howard's company Imagine Entertainment, and has had several of her own shows optioned by major television networks. Recently, Emily co-produced Real Abilities Live, a groundbreaking comedy show that featured an all-disabled cast and crew with her creative partner, Pavar Snipe, with whom she runs the production company Limitless Laughs Productions. Through the company, Emily and Pavar aim to elevate the voice, the disability community, and transform the media landscape. Emily and Pavar, I am so excited to have you on the show this evening. Thank you for joining.
Oh, thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
I know we're going to unpack a lot, so let's get started. I'd love to start by hearing about your early beginnings. What drew you to your respective career fields? And how did you decide that writing, producing, and comedy were your calling?
Oh, Emily.
Oh, you want me to go?
How do we start this Ebony and Ivory relationship and what a career we have?
Yeah, I think we both have had very different trajectories before we met. Pavar, I don't want to speak for you, but she has an amazing history that began back in Virginia.
Yeah, I was a radio personality in Virginia for a long time on a station called 103 Jams in Norfolk, Virginia. That's the 757 for those who know, Tidewater area, coastal Virginia. It has so many names. But basically, it's the areas of Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton, Newport News, Williamsburg, and Portsmouth, Virginia, and Chesapeake. And I started doing radio there as a morning radio personality. And I did that from 2003 to 2009. I started with the station as a traffic reporter. So I was up super, super early in the morning. I would work until 10 a.m. Then I would leave because I had a split shift. And then I would come back and work from like 2 to 7, if I remember correctly. And that's where it all started. I just wanted to be a radio personality, and things fell into my lap in a way that was amazingly positive. I did a morning show with the Buddha Brothers, who are basically hip hop legends in the Hampton Roads area. And just most people who are old school in the world of hip hop know who the Buddha Brothers are and what they did in terms of the hip hop culture in Virginia. And when I was a traffic reporter, I would do my reports live with them. And we just started to have a wonderful relationship and a wonderful rapport. And DJ Law, who was Buddha Brother number 1, if you will, Big B was Buddha Brother number 2. He asked me if I wanted to join their morning show, and they had the opportunity to leave afternoons and go to mornings. And I said yes. And from there, it was on. It started me being an entertainment reporter and flying across the country to do interviews and press junkets and interviewing anybody you can think of in the hip hop and R&B world. And I absolutely loved it. And I loved working with the guys. And one of the things that you do when you do a morning show, as you know, is you do a lot of comedy and you do a lot of skits and funny bits. And I remember at one point in time, I was doing this campaign with one of our co-hosts, Mike Lord, who was the sports guy and our comedian on the show. And we did this campaign. It was vote no to Mike Lord, and he was vote no to Pavar. And it just like was so funny because we like really put our all into producing these pieces that were, pre-recorded and written. And the audience would like vote on, who they're voting for. And they voted for Mike Lord. I still think it was fixed. But it was just so fun. And I just remember thinking at the time, wow, this is like Saturday Night Live. This is like if I was writing for Saturday Night Live. And, like so many people, that was always like my dream was to do set SNL and write for SNL. And the seeds were definitely planted from childhood to working on the Buddha Brothers show into I decided to leave everything and leave Virginia and pursue a comedy career. I only wanted to write. And here we are 10 years later after I moved up to New York, and I'm performing and writing and doing great things with one of my very best friends. So it's great.
Oh, that's a fascinating story. I want to know, how did you know this was your passion?
I mean, for me, it's because I just always was that kid who wanted to be on TV.
Yeah.
Like my mom can tell you, like I wanted to be on Facts of Life. I didn't just want to watch Tootie and the Girls. I wanted to be on the show and be Tootie's sister. Like Carol Burnett, I wanted to be, one of the people on the show. When I watched Annie, I wanted to be one of the kids that was singing and dancing. So it's just always been there. And, I'm lucky enough that I have a family that's always been very supportive of me. When I said I wanted to leave Virginia and pursue a comedy career, my mom was like, all right. And my dad was like, at first he was like, I don't know about that. I was a little long in the tooth. I was 39, getting ready to turn 40 when I decided to, just completely pivot my career and throw everything away and start over, which is not something most people do. And, but I had to do it because for me, all I could think of was one day just regretting not trying. And that just felt like it will be the worst thing ever. And that led me to move to New York and jump into a screenwriting and comedy writing course at NYU. And that's where I met this one over here.
Awesome. So Emily, thank you so much for that, Pavar. Emily, please tell us about your start.
Sure. It's interesting. I think from very similarly to Pavar, like from the time I was very young, I kind of knew what I wanted out of life. Like, I think for you is like, you have that urge to perform and do comedy. For me, definitely, I'm more of a behind the scenes person. I fear the spotlight. But I've always wanted, ever since I could hold a pen, to be a writer. That's kind of always been my dream, my passion. It's just a big part of my DNA, I guess. I kind of always knew that's who I was. And I spent a lot of time around other artists as a child. My grandmother lived in southern Spain, and so my parents would send me over there in the summer so that she would take care of me. And it was this kind of really remote village, basically, on the Mediterranean, where it was just all of these people who were painters and writers and just kind of expats from all different countries living there. So I was surrounded by creative people and kind of saw it firsthand and just was like, okay, these people are doing it. Maybe one day I can do it too. Yeah. And it took me a while to kind of get the courage. Like I would always write in my spare time. But it took me until that screenwriting class to really be like, you know what? I'm tired of just like having this dream and not doing anything about it. I'm going to actually take steps to, pursue it. So, when I was about 30, that's when I met Pavar in the screenwriting class, and it just kind of kicked off this whole new chapter in my life where I started, making films and like, short films and stuff like that. And like, there's all sorts of little creative projects, I guess.
And writing great scripts and, like the classes that we took at NYU, we rolled in these School of Professional Studies courses, which are courses for people who are continuing their education. You're a grown up. You don't want to go back and you necessarily feel like you need to go get a master's degree, but you just want to get some skills, new skills. And so we met in this class with our teacher, Michael Zam, which, hello, Michael Zam, wherever you are. And we just clicked. You know what I mean? Like, I read Emily's script. She had that I still love to this day, is one of the funniest things I've ever read. And, you know, she read my script, and, you know, we just really just like, I think we should be friends. Like, we should be friends. And so, you know, all these years we've been supporting each other and you know, critiquing each other's writing and, you know, being, you know, in all the ways that you can, and writers groups and et cetera. And then it was just over the past year that I should say 2 years, we really started to think about, you know, how can we evolve, you know, our careers as writers and comedians and support each other. And then boom, it was like, oh, we should do a podcast. Oh, let's put together this comedy show together. We got 1 month, you know, let's do the stand-up thing. So it just kind of is all been organic and wonderful. And yeah.
I tell you, that's amazing. It does sound as if everything kind of fell in place organically. But what I also heard was that there was intention for both of you, intention on, okay, I'm going to move forward. And that's when the doors open. I'm going to take this course. I'm just going to have the courage to just do what I have to do. Regardless of age, I'm pushing forward. And look how beautiful this is. Partnership. The doors it opens.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited for both of you. Let's take a look at the creative journey. Could you talk about a key moment that has shaped your career path? So Emily, working with companies like Imagine Entertainment and PBS must have been full of important moments. Is there a particular project that stands out in shaping your career?
Yeah. It's interesting. So when I first kind of started out in television and film, in addition to doing my writing, like, you know, the paid work that I was getting in the beginning was mostly in development, finding projects that I thought had legs and would, you know, make for good shows and stuff like that. So one of the first shows I ever pitched was like an unscripted show, and it ended up getting optioned, by the Discovery Channel and like another one by the Travel Channel. So I knew that I was onto something, and that was like definitely a pivotal moment for me where I was like, okay, people are really responding to my ideas and my writing. Like, I'm on the right track. And then I would also say, for when I worked on a web series for PBS called Reawakening. And that was a really pivotal moment in my career because that's when I first really got my producer chops. My friend Dominique Taylor, who's an amazing writer, performer, she was the host of the show. And it was basically about like a variety show about literature. And I really learned how to bring other people's visions to life. And it was like a really fun, creative show that was very well received. It's still available on the PBS digital platform. And yeah, I would say that really was a huge turning point for me as well.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Pavar, you've navigated acting, writing, producing, and comedy. Is there a moment where you felt your creative direction really clicked, or when comedy became a vehicle for your advocacy?
I can specifically name a couple of things. One was in 2017, towards the end of 2017, I was selected to be a writer for the CBS Diversity Comedy Showcase, which is now just called Showcase. And basically at that particular time, it was a national search for comedians and writers to come to LA and work for a few months on a live sketch show, a live theater style sketch show. And so that took me from New York to Los Angeles to go be a part of this process. I didn't know what I was getting into. I was just like, okay, one of my great comedy teachers that I had at the UCB, John Bander, had, suggested that I apply for it. And I was like, okay. And so I did. And I got in. And next thing you know, a couple of months later, I am leaving my place in Harlem and flying out to LA and moving in with a woman that I met on Facebook. And she and I clicked. Her name was Nikki. Now she's an amazing director and doing her own fantastic things. It was crazy how fast it all happened. That I never even had expected to be in LA. So boom, I'm in LA. I'm writing in this program. I meet amazing friends. I'm there for several months. And then I'm just like, oh, maybe I should live in LA now. So then I decided to just come back to New York a few months later, pack all my stuff. And I moved out to LA and started doing stand-up. And the moment I did stand-up, let me tell you, the first time I did it, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the thing. Like, I didn't know this is it for me. And again, I had no intention of being a performer. I just wanted to write. But the moment I did it, I was just like, this is great. So started doing character performances and stand-up, and things just clicked from there. And I got to thank Bobby Oliver from Tao Comedy Studio in Los Angeles, because she is the woman who really got me on that stand-up stage for the first time. And man, good stuff.
Wow. I tell you, that's amazing. So there are pivotal moments that were almost confirmations for both you, Pavar, and Emily, right? Your show's getting picked up. Your script is picked up. And then for you, Pavar, you're just going and doing stand-up, and then you're in LA, and then I mean, I tell you, when you take this step, it's almost like the world opens up. The stairs rise up to meet you when you're bold enough.
And I found, and I think Emily's the same way, we found that, like, just say yes.
Totally. 100%.
Just say yes. Don't be afraid. Yes. Just, if you feel afraid, then that means you're supposed to do it. Just say yes. And if it doesn't work, you can pivot and do something else. I am all about the trying it. And then if I don't like it, move on. But most of the time I've tried it and I've liked it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more about it. So there's a lot of boldness here, stepping out and being intentional and just trying it, which is very easy for some people, right? We feel the butterflies, but we still do it. We push through the fear. But what if you're afraid to push through because of the unknown? I guess I'm wondering, what did you tell yourself? Hey, Emily, what did you tell yourself when you're like, okay, I have to make these decisions to move forward?
Did you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is the thing, what I can tell you. For me, I have a disability, right? I've had rheumatoid arthritis. It's visible in my hands and my joints, and I've had it since I was 11 years old. And so for a very, 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 very long time, even though you would never know it talking to me, and my closest friends, I can tell you, didn't even know, I was so self-conscious. And that's a lot of the reasons why I pursued a radio career, because I felt like I could do that. I could be, myself and do this thing and be, an entertainer, if you will, but I wouldn't have to be seen, and I wouldn't have to worry about people looking at me and staring at me and judging me because of my disability. And when I really started to let that go, because I had on-air, TV and visual opportunities that came my way in my 20s and my early 30s, and I would say no because I just felt like,
really,
I shouldn't, I can't, people don't want to see me. I'm just being honest about how I felt. And so that's why I can tell you, I always had only intended to be a writer, because I felt like I wasn't supposed to be in the spotlight. And the more I just decided to be like, screw that, I'm here anyway. That's really how you have to look at it. You already exist in the world. You're here anyway. People see me if I'm at the supermarket, or they're going to see me if I'm on stage. Either way, people are going to be looking at me. So why am I supposed to hold back what I really want to do because I'm so worried and self-conscious about what other people think when they see me, when either way I'm going to be seen. So I might as well be seen doing what I want and showing people that they can do it anyway and try anyway. So that was one thing. And then also, I can tell you that even in my stand-up, when I first started doing stand-up, I didn't talk about having a disability. My first show went really well, but I talked about my family, my grandmother, and little things that happened in my life. But I didn't talk about disability. And when I decided to start talking about disability at the urge of my partner, he was like, you never talk about, arthritis. Maybe you should give that a try. And as soon as I did that, my comedy elevated.
Wow.
Because I was just being honest. The more honest that you are on stage and in life in general, right, the better things go. So that's what I can find happy for me.
That's true. The more honest you are, the authenticity.
Look, I'm about to turn 49 years old. It took me till 42 to even get there. So if I can help someone, get there sooner, if you can get there in your 20s, great. Not everybody can, because you don't even know who you are in your 20s anyway. But it's not easy, so I recognize that. But at some point, I think most people might be able to do it.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Emily, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have to say, so, Pavar, in my mind, I just want to start with context, is a very fearless person. And like, I am a very fearful person in a lot of ways. That little voice in my head that you were talking about is a voice that's definitely held me back a lot of times.
Yeah.
But what I have found, and with Pavar and like in our journey, is that like when you build a community around yourself, that really helps. When you're linking arms with your friends and you're like, you know what, she's gonna take a step, I'm gonna take a step. If she can do it, like, and building a community of people who have similar passions and goals in life is really powerful. And it's nice because you can kind of almost like create a jet stream of momentum together, So it's like that's how it's been for me. And having people like Pavar in my life, I have been everything for me. I don't think I could do it alone.
And let me also say this, piggybacking on what Emily says. Confidence aside and gumption aside, like I need this girl over here on my left because she is focused in such a wonderful way that like my brain doesn't, can't quite click on, you know what I mean? And so we are such a relay situation. It's amazing. And that's one of the other reasons why we have been able to do so well over the past year is just because, we're both creatives, but we're creatives in these different ways and we trust each other. And again, we have a trusted community of people that we keep getting so lucky to keep meeting. And again, that goes back to the honesty thing. The more honest you are, the more people are drawn to it and they want to be a part of that.
That's powerful. What you both mentioned. And I also want to go back to Emily, what you mentioned, the jet stream of momentum and then community. Just the fact that you both discuss community and finding each other, the partnership, and you're able to go far because you bounce ideas off of each other and you're able to work together in such a way that it makes sense and that you're honest. I heard something a long time ago about when you're honest and authentic, people can find you. Your people can find you. And if you're not authentic, then the wrong people find you.
Yeah.
And it's that, right? Which is strange. I guess it isn't because there's this alignment when you show up a certain way. People realize you share the same interests. So I think it's beautiful that you're working together, that you found each other. And I pray that we all have that type of relationship with someone who will help us advance and work on projects. I want to take a look at what inspires your work today, especially when it comes to representing underrepresented communities. Because you both do a lot of work with the disability community through Limitless Laughs Productions and other projects. How do your creative experiences influence the way you approach this advocacy? I know that was a mouthful, so it's a lot to unpack, but really, what inspires your work?
At least I'm going to grab my.
Yeah. So I would say what's interesting is that, both Pavar and I come primarily from a comedy background. And it actually influences our work a lot. We both are members of the disability community. And oftentimes disability and comedy aren't two things that a lot of people think belong together. And I feel like we have struck on something because a lot of our projects are about saying, no, wait a minute. It's like people in the disability community experience a lot of comedy, and it's like such a wonderful way to kind of explore the topic and people's experiences. Yeah, I don't know. I would say our comedy background really influences a lot of our work, even though some of the stuff that we do, like we just did a video for DRA, which is a legal organization. And that was a very serious video, but I think we were still able to bring elements of levity to it at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it kind of influences our worldview. So like the comedy background, yes, we were going to talk about serious issues that have to do with disability, but we're going to look at it from a different angle that the world doesn't usually look at it from.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That's amazing. Really amazing.
Have any thoughts on?
Do you have any thoughts, Pavar?
I ditto what she said. Because like when you grow up with a disability, like I said, I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 11 years old. You have a lot of time to yourself, and you have a lot of self-reflection and a lot of adults who don't really look at you or think of you as a whole being. So you have, I'm talking from my personal experience, so you have a lot of, time to think about that and say snarky things about those people behind your back and behind their back and think about, okay. Like I remember I had a woman who told me when I was, 14, that I would never drive, and I just remember thinking, which, yes, I will. I don't know what you're talking about. Like I just took that. I didn't even take it in at all. I was just kind of like, she's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And so like I had a lot of moments like that where I just remember thinking, these people don't really know what they're talking about. And I think that in the world of disability that we encounter a lot of that. And that makes for some good old dark comedy and some good old, slapstick comedy too.
Mm-hmm. Dark comedy, slapstick comedy. I love it. I love it. So how did the two of you come together to form Limitless Laughs Productions? Just want to dig in a little deeper and discuss Limitless Laughs.
Well, I mean, we launched as a production company just literally a few months ago. And that was after we had just finished doing this huge show for the Real Abilities Film Festival. Real Abilities is an annual film festival that now happens internationally, but flagship one is here in New York City. And it was started by Isaac. And it is a film festival that's about disabled voices. Filmmakers, writers, actors all coming together to put together these amazing films. There's hundreds and hundreds of submissions every year. And I was involved with it over the past couple of years. Some good friends, Rob Kuttner and Mike Langworthy and Sherry Kelton, who I work with on a completely different project, were invited to be a part of the festival in 2020. And I worked with them on it for their comedy night. And then last year, 2024, I was asked if I wanted to produce the comedy night, and I said yes. And I asked Emily if she wanted to co-produce it with me, and she said yes. And then we went very quickly and produced this variety SNL style show.
Like a month.
Yeah, in like a month and a half at the most, with like sketches and stand up and a musical guest. And it was a success, and it was so wonderful because it was for the disability community, and it was an opportunity for people with disabilities to come together, which is what that film festival is all about. But it was an opportunity for them to come together for a comedy show and see themselves represented and see some great sketches. And it was just so good. And then for, the non-disabled community who were there, they were enlightened in a whole new way to look at disability differently. And from that, I was like, let's take the show on the road. Let's do it bigger. And I'm like, let's do it bigger and better. And also, let's get an LLC. And there you go.
Yeah. We really felt like there was a certain feeling of magic where we're like, okay, people are responding to this. Like, they're really, we're fulfilling a need that this community is hungry for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that definitely from putting that show on and the response to the show, we felt like we have to keep going.
Yeah.
Roach, then an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing, I tell you. The things that you're both doing. So we're taking a look at Real Abilities Live. What challenges did you face and how did you bring the vision to life? Can you share a specific moment from that project?
You go.
Well, we were definitely on a time. There were time restrictions and budget restrictions, so we had to be very creative. And this is definitely a time or an experience where passion. We had to tap into our passion because we didn't have other sources of things to, we had to just run on passion.
Yeah.
Because we were pretty restricted in what we had available to us at that time. And yeah, I would say it was enough. It really got us through. We believed in it. We had a vision. And every time we hit an obstacle, that vision and passion and desire to like put on the best show possible just kept us going and got us over the finish line.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the night of, I'd say like just hearing people's laughing and really enjoying themselves and, responding to material that we wrote just for them. It was just so magical. There's like no other word to describe it.
It was electric. It was so good. And then we also had like an amazing cast of wonderful people that we just love so much. We love working with them. Some of the people I have been in sketch groups with before, some comedians that we like Steve Way and Mike Faber that I know just from stand-up in general. And we had Ali Levin and Ian Goldstein, who are wonderful comedians that I've worked with other shows. Yeah. And so it was just so good to be able to pull the talent from people who I already know, who are in the community and who are amazing, and that I don't even have to worry about. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, set it and forget it, because I know that they are going to come in and bring their A game with, direction that is, they take direction and then they give wonderful suggestions. You don't, it's like a show that it didn't fully direct itself, but in so many ways, because the talent is so good and so strong and so professional, it really made it easier for us in a way that's, a dream come true as producers.
Well, I tell you, that's amazing. Truly is. Truly is. I take a look at how you both elevate the voices of the disability community. So for Emily, for you as a writer and producer, what specific impact do you hope your storytelling has on the disability community and beyond?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think that, I definitely I want people to feel seen. I want their experiences to feel validated. I think that, for myself, I'm someone who was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease later in life. So I'm kind of like, whereas Pavar has gone through this since she was a child, for me, this is a relatively new experience. So I guess maybe helping people who are kind of in a similar situation to me, who find themselves with a disability later in life. Just comfort, because when I was first going through it was really alienating and like really hard. So I guess, just trying to help people feel seen and like hopeful and happy, and that they laugh at the absurdity of everything.
I tell you, that's beautiful, because even if you don't have a disability, being seen, that helps. It just helps. It heals the soul. It does. It does. And Pavar, your comedy is informed by your experiences with rheumatoid arthritis. How do you use humor as a tool to change perceptions and promote inclusion?
Ooh, that is my favorite thing to do.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
One of my jokes I love to do is talking about how non-disabled people infantilize people with disabilities and, treat us like we're children, or, I always say giving a gold star just for existing. I have a joke where I was in a bar and I was on my phone, swiping Bumble. I was bumbling on the phone. And this woman who I didn't know, she comes over, she sits down. We weren't like friends, but she was an acquaintance. And she sits down and she goes, looks at me, she looks at my hands. She goes, look at you on your phone. And I'm like, what? I'm swiping for a date. Why are you talking to me like I'm a 4-year-old? This is something that babies do. Babies swipe on a phone. Like, what? I didn't say that, but that's what I thought. And a couple of hours later, we were at dinner with another friend, and we were talking, and I had said that I was working on something. I can't remember the context of the full conversation, but I do know that I had said, because, it's really annoying when people treat you like you're a child when you're doing basic things, like just going to the grocery store, walking across the street. And then she looked at me and she was like, oh, I didn't mean to be insulting earlier. I hope you didn't think that I meant. And I was like, oh, no, I know you didn't.
Pavar, that look.
Yeah. She paid for my dinner.
Thank you for sharing. And she
That's
did.
what I like to do. I just like, because here's the thing, it's not like she was trying to be mean. She wasn't trying to be insulting. But sometimes you just got to call people out and let them know so then they don't do it again.
That's
You
true.
know, because
That is very
I
true.
was a 40-year-old woman. Don't sit there and say, look at you. Don't
Mhm.
clap your hands at me and don't give me a gold star for doing something that's basic when I'm a grown woman who's living a full life, like anyone else. And even if I was, no matter what my disability might be, do not talk to me like I am some child and I deserve credit for living my life and going out and doing the same thing that everybody else does. It's
Mhm.
just infuriating. Give me credit for starting this business as a Black woman in America and,
Yes.
having a wonderful partner
Mhm.
and, going through all the amazing things that I've gone through to get to where I am after the age of 40. Give me credit
Mhm.
for that. But don't give me
Mhm.
credit for just living and breathing as a disabled person in America. No, stop.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
often what
Yeah.
Paver does is take stories like that and moments that are so infuriating and so like, frustrating, demeaning, all of those things. And then she'll write a great joke about it. And she'll have audience members, particularly those who have also been in situations like that, howling because it's just like, it's just, comedy is that thing. It's like you laugh instead of,
But you laugh instead of crying.
like,
Yeah.
and you have to just, so she's very good at taking the absurdity and ridiculousness and like how horrible sometimes things are and making people laugh hysterically about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing, right? To change that
Yeah.
energy
And it's
for
and a
negative
lot of times
transformation.
after my shows, who come up to me almost the most is white guys. It's white able-bodied guys who are just like, because I have a joke about a bully and they're like, oh man, screw her. Like, or like they'll be like some of my main followers on Instagram and they're always like, I'm like, what, Chad? Real? But it just goes to show that, comedy is universal and funny is funny.
Mhm.
And, you may not be disabled, but you may have had a bully. You may not be stable, but you may have had a roommate who was an asshole who said something crazy to you, So it's, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those universal themes, right? That impact us all. So can you share a bit about your upcoming podcast? Exciting. It's not even like that. It's your upcoming podcast. It's not even like that. Can listeners expect? And how do you hope it contributes to the conversation around disability and representation?
We are like so excited about this podcast.
I know you guys
are
are.
asking about this. We've been working on it actually for a while.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually going to be super like game changing in a lot of ways. It analyzes the way that disability is portrayed in the media and just kind of like debunks myths and stereotypes and like it's really fun and funny. And Paybar is the host and it's just a lot of fun. And like the guests that we've had are mostly comedians.
Yeah.
So it's like really, it's just hilarious and uplifting. And like, I think that it's going to get people to be like, oh, wait, oh my God, I can't believe that. Like, I never really thought about, this that way, like, or the way that disabled people are, portrayed.
Yeah. Portrayed or not portrayed, and it's also like what I love about us prepping for this show is like, now I'm seeing so many things that have to do with disability and representation that I didn't even realize were about that. Like, we've got to do a Christmas episode because I just played Rudolph for my two little neighbor babies who live downstairs from me. And we're watching the old school, the old claymation Rudolph. And it's just like, hey, this is about discrimination. And we're absolutely being mean to Rudolph because he had a red nose. What?
That's different.
He was different. And
different.
his family tried to cover up his red nose. And all it's like, it's just so funny to really go back and pick apart things from that to, an episode of of Good Times to the first episode of Downton Abbey. I told them, I was like, this is also about discrimination of somebody with a disability. It's so many things that you were not even thinking about. And it's just so fun to go back and look and poke.
Yes, especially because I would say more often than not, stories and characters, stories about disability and characters with disabilities are coming from an abled point of view. There'll be a writer or director who's kind of being like, let's make, this story about a disabled person like aren't we grateful for what, aren't we able people like grateful for what we have, or I don't know. There's always like kind of an ableist lens through the way that a lot of stories about disability are told. So I think the podcast does a really good job being like, I mean, as the title says, it's not
even like that.
Like, what are you talking
about? That's the point. Because it's just like, an episode of Good Times where a girl uses a wheelchair and she, lies about it, or, and then when she's found out, she's like, oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, and then the guy's just like, it's okay. So it's like, oh, so he's a prince because he's still friends with this disabled girl. And it's just stuff like that. Yeah. It's just fun. And our guests.
Interesting.
Amazing.
And it's not even like that.
Yeah, and exactly.
It's not even like that.
It's not even like that. So we are definitely going to look out for the upcoming podcast. So what's next for each of you, both individually and together?
The next thing is we have a show for the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest. I will be doing my one-woman show. It is called Chronically Petty.
Chronically Petty.
Chronically Petty is the show, and I'm really excited to do that. It's going to be March 1st at the Caveat in New York City at 4 p.m. And people can get their tickets at, I think is it caveat.com or the caveat.com?
I think so.
Or if you know what, go to pavarsnipe.com.
Pavarsnipe.com.
Get tickets there. And limitlesslaughs.com. You can find out our tickets there. We'll have links up there. And that's a big thing that I'm really looking forward to. And then I teach a comedy class at the New School in New York City. And I mean, I can't tell you how much I just love it. It is just, my students are my little comedy babies. I love teaching them
comedy babies.
Comedy, and it's just great. I tell them about great people like Moms Mabley poster and an album behind me, and the focus of the course is to teach them how to find their own unique voice in their comedy pursuit using their personal experience. And I tell you, I have learned more from my students than I think that I may have taught them. It's just a joy to do. So those are the things. New semester is about to start, and we'll be rolling on through with that, and then working with this lady over here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pavar and Emily.
Yeah, I think that there's the Pavar show that's coming up. We've got the podcast. We've got, I think looking ahead,
the next Real
Ability show. A lot of things on the docket. We have.
Is that April? Is it April?
It's early April. I think it's the first week of April, the Real Ability show. It's gonna be super fun. We have so many things going on right now. I'm like blanking, but we're gonna be just continuing to create content and like meaningful and hilarious stories for people.
I think a big goal that we would love to see happen is to start traveling to record a podcast in other areas and look at disability, potentially even in other countries, and looking at what life looks like for people with disabilities abroad, and finding the comedic morsels that are in that internationally. That would
for sure
certainly be a huge, a goal. So if anybody's listening, you want to foot the bill. Be the EP and the sponsor of this. It's not even like that international tour.
Yeah,
hit us up.
Definitely.
Please do. I hope they do. Because this sounds amazing. Great work ahead. And already you have so many accomplishments. What advice would you give to others looking to break into the creative industry, especially those from underrepresented?
Yeah, I would say two things that I've really learned from our journey. It would be one, definitely kind of look, we always say, look to your left, look to your right. Lateral networking with people who are kind of at the same place you are is a great thing. From that screenwriting class that Pavar and I met at, I remember there was a very distinct moment where I was like, okay, I had to like pluck up the courage. It was the last class. And I was like, I'm going to talk to Pavar and see if she wants to maybe like, swap scripts and do a writer's group. And that changed my life. Just like having like stopping to like ask somebody, hey, like, would you, maybe want to. So I think that building your community is really important. And it's something that we always talk about as well, definitely saying yes to things for sure. And creating things. I think the more we put things out there, the more people are responding. So if you have something to say, get it out into the world, and I think people will start to find you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
wonderful. Wonderful. Pavar?
Don't listen to the naysayers. Even the people who love you the most can sometimes be negative, and they're not trying to hurt you, but they just are projecting their own thoughts and feelings and what they think onto you and your goals and your dreams, and don't let them do that. And I really do mean that. Even your parents, your spouse, whatever, operate in a way that is true to you, but also safe. Don't leave your family or sell your house or something like that if you've got the people to support. Yeah. But, know like you know about what it is that you want to do, and then move forward. And don't think that you have to move forward in this huge, grand way. Yeah, sure. I left Virginia and I sold everything in my house and I came up to New York and I took a huge leap, but also I was a single woman with no kids. So that part was easier for me. But if you're, a housewife, or you're a husband and you want to start something, start where you're at, start small, find out what kind of community group there is that you can be in, what kind of classes there that you can take. Is there an online class that you can take? It doesn't matter where you are. Start with something online if you can't get into a physical space, and then find a group. There's meetups and subreddit groups and all things. There's so many things that are out there available to you. The world is wide open, and one of the great things about somebody who is disabled in 2025 compared to somebody who's disabled in 2019 is Zoom and the opportunity to be a part of rooms and things that you were not able to be a part of 5 years ago. So go for it. Start small. Start where you are, and you will be surprised at what will open up for you.
Wow. I just have to say, what amazing advice from you both, the both of you. Thank you so much for being on the show. You have shared so much information about your journey, your projects, the disability community. I just wish you much success. And so thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining Let's Talk Passion and Purpose. I hope you're leaving inspired and ready to elevate your journey. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share if you enjoyed today's episode. Stay connected, follow your passion, live purposefully, and we'll see you next time.